we can just this one mic and drop the special mic. Check it out. Can you hear me? Am I audible? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right. Where is the begin from? Etat sarvam abhipratya. Okay. Would be Śrī Hari. Not good. Come on. Took so much time. Open something. Just give me a minute. Fix it. Well, can you hear me now? My connection disappeared and it came back. Hare Krishna. Am I audible? How do I find out? Am I audible? Haribol.
Yes, Prabhu.
Can you hear me? Is it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, just that trying to work out. Okay, part 3. Part 3. Chapter 6. Part 3, chapter 6, beginning with Sarva Abhipretya. Okay, let's resume. Etat Sarvam Abhipretya. This is Jiva Goswami, Bhagavad Sandarbha, and he is discussing how the holy name of Krishna is non-different from him on the basis of scriptural evidence, and he's analyzing the scriptural evidences also. Etat Sarvam Abhipretya Garbhastuta Uktam na Nama Rupe Gunajanma Karmabhir Nirupitavye Tavatasya Sakshinaha Mano Vachobhyam Anumeya Vart Mano Devakriyayam Pratiyan Yathapiti Iti. Intending to convey all this, the following statement is made by the demigod in their prayer to Lord Krishna when he was in the womb of Mother Devaki. O Lord, your transcendental name and form are not ascertained by those who merely speculate on the path of imagination. Your name, form, and attributes can be ascertained only through devotional service. Okay. In chapter 7, it's Ajamil's life in brief. Ajamil's life is discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, chapters 1 to 3. Interested readers are requested to study them for gathering further detail. Srila Prabhupada's summary of these chapters is presented here. This is related to stanza 9 of Śrī Hari-nāma, where Thakur Bhaktivinoda mentions that in the lives of Ajamil and Valmiki, we see the potency of even Nāmābhas chanting. The first chapter of this is Prabhupada's own chapter summary for the first 3 chapters of the 6th canto. The first chapter of the 6th canto relates the history of Ajamil, who was considered a greatly sinful man, but was liberated when 4 order carriers of Vishnu came to rescue him from the hands of the order carriers of Yamaraj. A full description of how he was liberated, having been relieved of the reactions of his sinful life, is given in this chapter. Sinful activities are painful both in this life and in the next. We should know for certain that the cause of all painful life is sinful action. On the path of fruitive work, one certainly commits sinful activities, and therefore, according to the considerations of Karma Kanda, different types of atonement are recommended. Such methods of atonement, however, do not free one from ignorance, which is the root of sinful life. Consequently, one is prone to commit sinful activities even after atonement, which is therefore very inadequate for purification. So the idea is that prayashchitta or atonement saves a repentant human being from going to hell. On the other hand, even though he cannot go to hell, he doesn't go to hell, his sinful propensities are not removed. So because his sinful propensities are not removed, in his next life, he might commit sinful activities and he may not repent, he may not do prayaschitta, and he may actually go to hell. So performance of the prayaschitta austerities is not considered to be a foolproof method to save one from sinful activities, sinful reaction, sinful propensities, and so on. On the path of speculative knowledge, one becomes free from sinful life by understanding things as they are. Therefore, the acquirement of speculative knowledge is also considered a method of atonement. So, engaging in the activity of in the jnana activities is also considered a form of atonement. While performing fruitive activities, one can become free from the actions of sinful life through austerity, penance, celibacy, control of the mind and senses, truthfulness, and the practice of mystic yoga. By awakening knowledge, one may also neutralize sinful reactions. So these are all elements of the jnana system. Just as we have the karma system and the bhakti system, there is also the jnana system, within which you have different components: austerity, penance, celibacy, control of the mind and senses, truthfulness, practice of mystic yoga, all of this. By awakening knowledge, one may also neutralize sinful reactions. Neither of these methods, however, can free one from the tendency to commit sinful activity. By bhakti yoga, one can completely avoid the tendency for sinful life. Other methods are not very feasible. Therefore, the Vedic literature concludes that devotional service is more important than the methods of karma kanda and jnana kanda. Only the path of devotional service is auspicious for everyone. Fruitive activities and speculative knowledge cannot independently liberate anyone, meaning that one might engage in the activities of the karma system, varnashrama dharma, which means a man's varna dharma, ashrama dharma, and a woman's Śrī dharma. Without engaging in the austerities involved in the jnana system, at least to a small extent, an engagement in activities of the bhakti system. If one simply engages in the activities of the karma system, he cannot become purified. So if one independent, that's called independent engagement in karma. Fruitive activities and speculative knowledge cannot independently liberate anyone. But devotion service, independent of karma and jnana, is so potent that one who has fixed his mind at the lotus feet of Krishna is guaranteed not to meet the Yamadutas, the order carriers of Yamaraj, even in dreams. To prove the strength of devotional service, Shukadeva Goswami described the history of Ajamil. Ajamil was a resident of Kanyak Kubja, the modern Kanauj. He was trained by his parents to become a perfect Brahmana by studying the Vedas and following the regulative principles. But because of his past, this youthful Brahmana was somehow attracted by a prostitute. And because of her association, he became most fallen and abandoned all regulative principles. Ajamil begot in the womb of the prostitute 10 sons, the last of whom was called Narayan. At the time of Ajamil's death, when the order carriers of Yamaraj came to take him, he loudly called the name Narayan in fear because because he was attached to his youngest son. Thus, he remembered the original Narayana, Lord Vishnu. Although he did not chant the holy name of Narayana completely offenselessly, it acted nevertheless. As soon as he chanted the holy name of Narayana, the order carriers of Lord Vishnu immediately appeared on the scene. A discussion ensued between the order carriers of Lord Vishnu and those of Yamaraj, and by hearing that discussion, Ajamil was liberated. He could then understand the bad effect of fruitive activities and could also understand how exalted is the process of devotional service. In the second chapter of the 6th canto, the messengers from Vaikuntha explain to the Yamadutas the glories of chanting the holy name of the Lord. The Vishnudutas said, now impious acts are being performed, even in an assembly of devotees, for a person who is not punishable is going to be punished in the assembly of Yamaraj. The mass of people are helpless and must depend upon the government for their safety and security. But if the government takes advantage of this to harm the citizens, where will they go? We see perfectly that Ajamil should not be punished, although we are attempting to take him to Yamaraj for punishment. It was due to Ajamil's glorifying the holy name of the Supreme Lord that he was not punishable. The Vishnudutas explain this as follows. Simply by once chanting the holy name of Narayana, this Brahmana has become free from the reactions of sinful life. Indeed, he has been freed not only from the sins of this life, but from the sins of many, many thousands of other lives. He has already undergone true atonement for all his sinful actions. If one atones according to the directions of the Shastra, one does not actually become free from sinful reactions. But if one chants the holy name of the Lord, even a glimpse of such chanting immediately frees one from all sins. Chanting the glories of the Lord's holy name awakens all good fortune. Therefore, there is no doubt that Ajamil, being completely free from all sinful reactions, should not be punished by Yamaraj. As they were saying this, the Vishnudutas released Ajamil from the ropes of the Yamadutas and left for their own abode. The Brahman Ajamil, however, offered his respectful obeisances to the Vishnudutas. He could understand how fortunate he was to have chanted the holy name of Narayana. At the end of his life, indeed, he could realize the full significance of this good fortune. Having thoroughly understood the discussion between the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas, he became a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He lamented very much for how very sinful he had been and condemned himself again and again. This repentance is actually essential in order to come to the point of pure devotional service. Finally, because of his association with the Vishnudutas, Ajamil, his original consciousness aroused, gave up everything and went to Hardwar, where he engaged in devotional service without deviation, always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, the Vishnudutas went there, seated him on a golden throne, and took him away to Vaikuntha Loka. In summary, although the sinful Ajamil meant to call his son the holy name of Lord Narayan, even though chanted in the preliminary stage, Nāmābhās was able to give him liberation. Therefore, one who chants the holy name of the Lord with faith and devotion is certainly exalted. He is protected even in his material conditional life. As related in the 3rd chapter of the 6th canto, the Yamadutas approached Yamaraj, who very exhaustively explained Bhagavata Dharma, the religious principle of devotional service. Yamaraj thus satisfied the Yamadutas, who had been very disappointed. Yamaraj said, although Ajamil was calling for his son, he chanted the holy name of the Lord Narayana, and simply by a glimpse of the chanting of the holy name, he immediately achieved the association of Lord Vishnu's order carriers, who saved him from your attempt to arrest him. This is quite all right. It is a fact that even a chronically sinful person who chants the holy name of the Lord, although not completely without offenses, does not take another material birth. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, Ajamila had met 4 order carriers of Lord Vishnu. They were very beautiful and had quickly come to rescue him. Yamaraj now described them. The Vishnudutas are all pure devotees of the Lord, the Supreme Person, in regard to the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this cosmic manifestation. Neither King Indra, Varuna, Shiva, Brahma, the 7 rishis, nor I myself can understand the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord, who is self-sufficient and beyond the reach of the material senses. With material senses, no one can attain enlightenment about him. The Lord, the master of the illusory energy, possesses transcendental qualities for the good fortune of everyone, and his devotees are also qualified in that way. The devotees, concerned only with rescuing the fallen souls from this material world, apparently took birth in different places in the material world just to save the conditioned souls. if one is somewhat interested in spiritual life, the devotees of the Lord protect him in many ways. So the fine example is Ajamil himself. Yamaraj continues, the essence of Sanatana Dharma or eternal religion is extremely confidential. No one but the Lord himself can deliver that confidential religious system to human society. It is by the mercy of the Lord that the transcendental system of religion can be understood by his pure devotees, and specifically by the 12 Mahajana, Lord Brahma, Narada Muni, Lord Shiva, the Kumaras, Kapila, Manu, Prahlad, Janaka, Bhishma, Bali, Shukadeva Goswami, and me. Other learned scholars, headed by Jaimini, are almost always covered by the illusory energy, and therefore they are more or less attracted by the flowery language of the three Vedas, namely Rig, Yajur, and Sama, which are called Trayi. Instead of becoming pure devotees, people captivated by the flowery words of the three Vedas are interested in the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. They cannot understand the glories of chanting the holy name of the Lord. Intelligent persons, however, take to the devotional service of the Lord. When they chant the holy name of the Lord without offenses, they are no longer subject to my ruling. If by chance they commit some sinful act, they are protected by the holy name of the Lord, because that is where their interest lies. The four weapons of the Lord, especially the club and the Sudarshan Chakra, always protect the devotee. One who chants, hears, and remembers the holy name of the Lord without duplicity, or who prays or offers obeisances to the Lord, becomes perfect. Whereas even a learned person may be called to hell if he is bereft of devotional service. After Yamaraj has described the glories of the Lord and his devotees, Shukadeva Goswami further explained the potential of the chanting the holy name and the utility of performing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies and pious activities for atonement. So from this we can learn that chanting Krishna's holy name has immense power to purify us. Immense power. Then, chapter 8, Valmiki's life in his own words. In Adhyatma Ramayana, Valmiki recounts his own life to Lord Ram when during his exile in the forest, he meets the sage in his ashrama. A part of Brahmanda Purana, Adhyatma Ramayana. It is quoted by Srila Prabhupada in his commentary to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. These verses are presented here with an English translation. This is related to stanza 9 of Śrī Hari-nāma. Ramatvan nama mahima varnyate kenava katham yat prabha vadaham rama brahmarshitvam avaptavan. O Rama, who or how, who can describe the glory of your holy name? How can it be described? By its influence, O Rama, I attained the position of a Brahmarshi. Aham pura kirateshu kiratai sahavarthitaha janmatra vijatvam me shudrachara ratah sada. I was previously with the Kirata, having been grown up by them. I was a Brahmana merely by birth, constantly engaged in the activities of a Shudra. Shudrayam bhagavah putra utpanna me jitat manaha tataschoraischya sangamya chauroham abhavam pura. My senses uncontrolled begot many sons through a Shudra woman. Then by the association of thieves, I became a thief. Dhanur Bana. Dhanur Bana Dharo Nityam Jivanam Antakopamaha. Ekada Manaya Sapta Drishta Mahatikanane. Sakshan Maya Prakashanto Jwalanarka Samaprabha. Tananvadha Vam Lobhena Tesham Sarva Parichadan. Grahitu Kamasatraham Tishtatishte Chabravam. Drishtva Mam Munayo Prichan Kima Yasi Dvijadhama. Holding a bow and arrow, I was like death personified for all living entities. One day in a thick forest, I saw the 7 great sages illuminating the surroundings, their effulgence resembling the blazing sun. I chased them out of greed to seize all of their garments and called out, wait, wait. Noticing me, the sages asked, why are you coming towards us, O lowest of the Brahmanas? They wanted him to give up these abominable activities, and therefore they are referring to him as the lowest of the Brahmanas. The 7 great sages are selected Brahmarshis who participate in the universal management of Indra, Manu, and the demigods under the control of Lord Vishnu. Just as Indra and Manu are posts, the 7 great sages are also posts. For a description of who will be the Indras, Manus, and the 7 great sages in the future Manvantaras in this day of Brahma, see Śrīmad-bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 13. I have translated Tesham Sarva Parikshatan as all of their garments. It can also mean all of their property or all of their paraphernalia. Aham tāna bravam kinchit ādatam munisatama putra dharadayastanti bhagavo me bubhuktita. I told them, O best of the sages, I am coming to take something. I have many hungry sons and a wife. Tesham samrakshanarthaya charami girikanani tato mam uchuravyagra prichat gatva kutumbakam yoyo maya pratidinam kriyate papasanchaya yoyam tad bhagina kimva neti veti prathak prathak. I wander in the mountains and forests just for their protection. Then without being disturbed, they told me, go and ask your family members individually this. Will you take part of the sinful reactions? Will you take part of the sinful reactions accumulated by me every day or not? Vayam sthasya mahetavad agamishyasi nishchayaha tathatyuktva griham gatva munibhir yadudiritam apriccham putradaram staye uktoham ragutama papam tavaiva tatsarvam vayam tu phalabhaginaha. We will wait here for sure until you return. After they said this, I went home and asked my son, wife, and other family members that which the sages had asked. Oh, best of the Raghus, they told me, all of the simple reactions are certainly yours. We are only the enjoyers of the fruit of your activities, the money you bring for us. Note here that the money collected was considered the fruit, phala, of his labor. For gross material is considered money to be the fruit of work. Just as you sow a plant, it grows into a tree and it yields fruit. You engage in some work and then ultimately you get money. So money is commonly referred to as the fruit of work, karma phala. Karma phala can also refer to benefits that you can attain in your next life. But we are talking of aihika karma phala, the result of activity that can be enjoyed in this life, which is money. Considering the mentality of such gross materialists, Srila Prabhupada often describes karma phala tyaga as donating the money earned to Lord Krishna. Tachutva jata nirvedo vicharya punaragamam manayo yatra tishtanti karuna purna manasa. On hearing this, I became filled with renunciation. After due consideration, I again came to the place where the sages, where minds filled with compassion were waiting. Muninam darshanadeva siddhan shuddhanta karanobhava dhanurradin parityajya dandapatitosmiham. By the mere sight of the sages, my mind became pure. Abandoning my bow and other weapons, I fell down like a stick unto their feet. Rakshadvam mam munishrestha gachantam nirayarnavam ityagre patitam drishtva mamuchur munisattama. I said, O best of the sages, protect me, who is going to an ocean of hellish punishment. Seeing me fallen in front of them, those best of the sages spoke to me as follows. Uttishta bhadram te saphala tat samagamaha upadeshyamahe tubhyam kinchit tenaiva mokshyase Arise, arise, auspiciousness unto you. Association with the saints is always a success. We will instruct you about a means by which you can be liberated. Parasparam samalocya durvrittoyam vijadhamaha upechya eva tadvrittai tathapi sharanam gataha rakshaniya prayatnena mokshamargopadeshataha ityukva ramate nama yatyasta sharapurvakam ekagram manasa traivam mareti japa sarvada. Discussing among themselves, they said, this lowest of the Brahmanas is of bad character and is meant to be neglected by those of good character. Still, he has taken shelter of us and so is meant to be carefully protected by instructions on the pathway of liberation. O Rama, then they told me to constantly, with a focused mind, utter your holy name after reversing its syllables as Mara. When one repeatedly chants Mara, the holy name of Lord Ram manifests. Mara, Mara, Mara. This is the clear instance of Nāmābhas chanting. Agacchāma punaryavat tāvad dukkam sada japa ityuktva prayayus sarve munayo divya darshana. Saying, until we return, chant what we told you to chant. All of those sages who can be seen by divine beings left. Aham yathopadishtam tais tatha karavamanjasa japannekagra manasa bahyam vismrtavanaham. I immediately did as I was instructed by them. With a focused mind, chanting Mara, I forgot my external surroundings. Evam bhutute kale gate nishchala rupinaha sarvasangam vihinasya valmiko bhumamopari. Thus, when a long time had passed, an anthill grew over me, who was steady in my meditation and free from all association with the external world. Tato yuga sahasrante rashaya punaragaman mamuchir nishkramasveti takshutva turnamutthitaha. Then at the end of 1,000 years, the sages returned and told me, come out of this anthill. Hearing this, I immediately got up. Valmika nirgataschaham niharadi iva bhaskaraha. Niharadi iva bhaskaraha. Mamapyahur munigana valmikis tvam munishvara. I came out of the anthill like the sun from fog and so on. Like the sun from fog. The sages told me, O king of sages, you are Valmiki, born of the anthill. In Sanskrit, an anthill is referred to as Valmika, whose offspring is Valmiki. Valmikar sambhavo yasman, dvitiyam janmate bhavat, ityukvate yayurdivya gatim raghu kulottama. Because you are born of an anthill, Valmika, your second birth has now taken place. Saying this, he went to a divine destination, or best of the Raghu dynasty. Aham te Rama-nāmāśraya prabhavādi drisho bhavan adya sakshat prapashyami sati tam lakshmanena cha Ramam rajiva patraksham tvam mukto natra samshayah. O Rama, I have become thus. Eyes are like those of a blue lotus petal, along with Sita and Lakshmana. Seeing you thus, I am liberated. There is no doubt about this. Okay, now we'll look into chapter 9. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 17.72 to 76 on the offense of considering the glories of chanting the holy name to be an exaggeration. This is related to stanza 16 of Śrī Hari-nāma, where Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out that we should not consider the glories of chanting Krishna's holy name to be an exaggeration. This is a conceptual offense. It's an offense in the mind. Bhakta Gane Prabhu Nama Mahima Kohila Ahilo Shuniya, Pudva, Taha, Arthavad Koila. Once, when the Lord explained the glories of the holy name to the devotees, some ordinary students who heard him fashioned their own interpretation. The Lord explained the glories of the holy name unto the devotees. Upon hearing it, the students there, they interpreted the holy name. The Lord explained the glories of the holy name unto the devotees. Hearing that, the students interpreted those glories as Arthavada. Nāme Stutivad Shuni Prabhu Hoilo Dukkha Sabare Nishedhilo Ihar Na Dekhi Ho Mukha. Hearing that the holy name of the Lord is being exaggerated, the Lord became aggrieved. He warned everyone, do not see his face. When a student interpreted the glories of the holy name as a prayer of exaggeration, the holy name is a prayer, the Hare Krishna mantra, but its glories have been exaggerated. So if one thinks like this, then that is this offense. So when a student interpreted the glories of the holy name as a prayer of exaggeration, Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, greatly unhappy, immediately warned everyone not to see the student's face henceforward. Once when Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the glories of the transcendental potency of the Lord's holy name, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one unfortunate student said that such glorification of the holy name was an exaggeration in the Shastras to induce people to take to it. In this way, the student interpreted the glories of the holy name. This is called Arthavada, and it is one of the 10 offenses at the lotus feet of the holy name of the Lord. There are many kinds of offenses, but the offense known as Nāmāśraya, an offense at the lotus feet of the holy name, is extremely dangerous. The Lord therefore warned everyone not to see the face of the offender. So the Lord immediately took a bath in the Ganges with all his clothes on to teach everyone to avoid such a Nāmāśraya. The holy name is identical with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no difference between the person God and his holy name. This is the absolute question of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, one who distinguishes between the Lord and his name is called a Pashandi or non-believer, an atheistic demon. Glorification of the holy name is glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should never attempt to distinguish between the Lord and his name or interpret the glories of the holy name as mere exaggerations. Swagane Sachele Gia Koilaganga Sna Bhaktir Mahimata Korilo Vyakhya. Without even removing his garments, Lord Chaitanya took a bath in the Ganges with his companion. There he explained the glories of devotional service. With his followers, he went and bathed in the Ganges without leaving their clothes. There, he explained the glories of devotional service. Jnana karma yoga dharme nahe Krishna vash, Krishna vasha hetu ek prema bhakti ras. By following the paths of speculative philosophical knowledge, fruitive activity, or mystic yoga to control the senses, one cannot satisfy Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Unalloyed devotional service for Krishna is the only cause for the Lord's satisfaction. Lord Krishna is not pleased with the activities or occupation of the path of speculative knowledge, fruitive activities, or the process of controlling the senses. The only cause of Lord Krishna's pleasure is the mellow of devotional service with love. Na sadhyati mam yogo, na sankhyam dharma uddhava, na swadhyaya tapastyago yatha bhakti mamorjita. Which actually means, my dear Uddhava, neither the yogic process of control, nor the process of gaining philosophical knowledge about the absolute truth, and occupation in Vedic dharma, study of the Vedas, austerities, renunciation, acceptance of sannyas, or charity cause me to remain satisfied as much as developed devotional service unto me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna said, my dear Uddhava, neither through Ashtanga Yoga, the mystic yoga system to control the senses, nor through impersonal monism, or an analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through study of the Vedas, nor through austerity, charity, or acceptance of sannyas, can one satisfy me as much as by developing unalloyed devotional service unto me. Okay, we already saw the purpose. Okay, chapter 10. Srila Jiva Goswami's Bhakti Sandarbha on the absolute incompatibility of sinful activities and bhakti. This is related to stanza 18 of Śrī Hari-nāma. This portion is excerpted from Cheda 172, section 172. Jata Shraddho Madkathasu Nirvinna Sarvakarmasu Veda Dukhatmakan Kaman Parityagepyanishwaraha Tato Bhaje Tamam Prita Shraddha Lur Dridhan Nishchayaha Jushamanascha Tan Kaman Dukhodar Kamscha Gharhayan. The Supreme Personality of Godhead told us, having awakened faith in the narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he sometimes engages in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities. Ananya bhakti adhikare hetum shraddha matra mukva sai yatha bhaje tatha shikshayati tas shraddhalor vishwasavan pritaha jatayam ruchav asaktaha dhrida nishchayaha sadhanadhyavasaya bhangarahitascha san sahasa tyaktum asamarthatvad kamanjushamanascha garhayamscha garhane he dukhodar kam shokadikrid uttaraphala iti. Having stated that the cause for the eligibility for exclusive devotion service to the Lord is mere faith, Shraddha, he now teaches how one should serve him. Faithful and happy means attached to the taste in bhakti that has awakened in him, with firm conviction, which means without his determination to engage in sadhana bhakti broken. In other words, he ensures that his determination is not broken. Immediately being unable to abandon sense enjoyment, engaging in them and repentful. The cause for this repentance is the knowledge that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result. That means it leads to results that produce lamentation and so on. Atra kama apapakara eva jyaya. Shastre kathanchidapi anya anuvidhana ayoga pratyuta parapatni paradravya parahisa suyo matim na karoti puman bhupa toshyate yena keshavaha iti Vishnu Purana vakyadau karma arpanat purvameva tannishedhat atreva cha nishkama karmanyapi yadyanyan na samachare iti vakshvana nishedhat Karma parityagena parityaga vidhanena sutaram dushkarma parityaga pratyasate. The sense enjoyment in this context should be understood to be only that which does not lead to sinful reactions, because in Vedic scripture there is no instruction whatsoever to engage in other forms of sense enjoyment. On the other hand, in statements such as this in the Vishnu Purana, O King, Lord Keshava is pleased with that person who does not set his mind in others' wives, others' property, or in hurting others, which forbid engagement in sinful activities even prior to offering one's activities to the Lord. So the idea is that just as before we offer some foodstuffs to the deity, first of all we ensure that what we are going to offer are offerable, and only then we offer. So like that, before we decide, I will perform all these activities for Krishna's pleasure, first of all we have to ensure that those activities are of the sinless type. Other reasons to not engage in sinful activity are as follows. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the following text will appear. My dear Uddhava, a person who is situated in his prescribed duty, properly worshipping by Vedic sacrifices, but not desiring the fruitive result of such worship, will not go to the heavenly planets. Similarly, by not performing forbidden activities, he will not go to hell. This text is in relation to engagement in material prescribed duties, karma without material desire. And here also sinful activities are forbidden for the instruction to abandon other activities, consequently establishes abandonment of sinful activity. Swadharmastho yajanyagye anashih karma uddhava. Naiyati swargan narakau yajanyana samachare. If a person engages in a swadharma, a pious activity recommended in Vedic Shastra, but he is without any material desire, and he engages in worship to Vedic sacrifices, he does not go to heaven or hell if he does not engage in any other activity. What could any other activity mean? Any other activity could only mean that which is apart from dharma is adharma, that's all. So it means adharma. Vishnu Purane, Maryadam Chakratam Tena Yobhinati Samanava. Na Vishnu Bhakto Vigyeya Sadhu Dharmarchito Harihi iti Vaishwapitan Nishedha. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated that man who transgresses the boundaries created by him, Lord Vishnu, should be understood to be a non-devotee of Lord Hari. Lord Hari is worshipped by those whose characteristics are saintly. Here it is evident that Vaishnavas are also forbidden from engaging in sinful activities. So the Jiva Goswami Prabhupada first provided evidence from Vishnu Purana that those engaged in Varnashram Dharma, even with material desires, so Kama Karma, are forbidden from engaging in sinful activities whatsoever. Then he referred to Srimad Bhagavatam 11.20.10 as evidence that those engaged in Varnashram Dharma with the aim of attaining liberation, Nishtama Karma, are forbidden from sinful activities whatsoever. Now he provides evidence from Vishnu Purana that even the Vaishnavas, that is those engaged in Bhakti Yoga, are forbidden from sinful activities whatsoever. So three groups, but all three groups have to give up sinful activities. It's not that because we are chanting Krishna's holy name, we can also engage in sinful activities. Yat pada seva bhiruchistapasvinam ashesha janmopachitam malandhiya sadyakshinotyanguhamedhati sati yatha padangushtham ministrata sar ityatra sabdya shabda prayogena jatamatra ruchinam yada nekshati papani yada punyani vanchati jayastada manushena hriditasya haristita iti vishnu dharme niyamena cha vikarma yacho patitam kathanchit dhunoti sarvam hridi sannivishta ityatrapi kathanchit shabda prayogena labdhabhaginam cha swatas tad pravritti yogat. Okay, here is a verse. Translation. By the inclination to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, suffering humanity can immediately cleanse the dirt which has accumulated in their minds during innumerable births. Like the Ganges water which emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, such a process immediately cleanses the mind, and thus spiritual or Krishna consciousness gradually increases. By the usage of the word immediately, sadhya, for those who have merely attained a taste for bhakti, there is no engagement in any form of sinful activity whatsoever, in accordance with the principles stated in Vishnu Dharma. When one does not desire to engage in sinful activities, and one desires to engage in pious activities, it should be known that that man has placed Lord Hari in his heart. And another verse, one who has given up all other engagements and has taken full shelter at the lotus feet of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is very dear to the Lord. Indeed, if such a surrendered soul somehow commits some sinful activity, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in the heart, immediately takes away the reaction to such sin. Here, somehow, what does somehow mean? It means those who have attained bhakti but who have no natural tendency to engage in sinful activities are referred to here. Namno baladhyasya hi papa buddhir na vidyate tasya yamair hi shuddhi iti padme nāmāśraya-bhakti bhanjana stotrāda hari bhakti balenapi tat pravrittau aparādhacha. And in the Padma Purana, in the stotra that deals with the destruction of offenses committed to the holy name, it is stated, for he who has a conception of committing sinful activities on the strength of the holy name, there is no purification through any of the scriptural regulations. Here it is clearly stated that engagement in sinful activities on the strength of devotional service to Lord Hari degrades one to an offensive state. So we cannot commit sinful activities. There's no question of making spiritual progress while disobeying Krishna. Apache sudarachara iti tu tatanadara doshapara eva natu duracharata vidhana paraha shipram bhavati dharmatma iti anantaravakye duracharata pagamastya shreyastu nirdesha iti. Bhagavad Gita 9.3 reads, even if one commits a most abominable action, he is engaged in devotional service without deviation, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. This is only to assert the defect of disrespecting such a person. It is not to assert that one can engage in forbidden activities, for in the immediate next statement it is stated that cessation of his forbidden activities is beneficial. The next verse in Bhagavad Gita reads, Shipram bhavati dharmadma shashvat shantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace, O son of Kunti. Declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Okay, so this finishes this book. Next week we can take over the next book. Okay, any questions? Otherwise, we'll close up.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu, this Ajamala story, the first time when he chants Lord Hari's name, that is not stressed in the story itself. No? Only the last chanting only is stressed so much in the story. But actually he gets cleared of his all sinful activities in the first chanting itself. No?
Yes, he was purified even before. He was chanting from the time of Namakarana. He was chanting Lord Narayana's name. And Vishnu Chakravarti elsewhere we saw that long commentary. He was purified, but he was imperceptibly purified. But the Vishnu Dutas appeared only at the last minute. To chant, to remember Lord Krishna or his plenary expansions at the moment of death is not easy. Madhvacharya gives one quotation that one may engage in devotion service to Vishnu throughout his life, but at the last minute Vishnu Maya will come and make him forget. If he has karmic reaction, this prarabdha karma, it is there, and last minute when the soul is being taken away, at that time he will not be able to engage in devotional service. Before that, he may be doing, but at that minute he will not be able to remember. That is called Antima Smriti, the last remembrance. And for each lifetime we have that opportunity for Antima Smriti. But as long as we have karmic reactions in our subtle body, we will not be allowed to remember. So the very fact that Ajamil was able to chant Narayana's holy name while dying, it's not before dying, while dying, that indicates that He was chanting, there was some sincerity. There was some sincerity. Like Prabhupada says, he remembered the original Narayan. Something was there, some effect was there.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Okay, go. Let's resume next week. Thank you. Anshakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyo vachapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaः.